welcome back to the channel. Today I want to take some time and talk about mental training and kind of what goes into the mental side of a competition and what it takes to perform in an event. I think there's a lot of emphasis placed on the physical preparation, which is, really important. But arguably, I think the mental side of things is just as important because if you can't perform on the day, then it doesn't matter how well you do in practice. So if you're an athlete and you have any tips or tricks or you relate in some way, be sure to drop that in the comments down below. I think for me, as a Team USA ice dancer, um, a lot of the competitive battle is just in your own mind at the event because you're in a new environment. There's a judging panel. There's, depending on the event, there's an audience, and then sometimes there's lots of people watching live online and then also afterwards. And so it's kind of dealing with all of that and how you still put out a performance that is not only good but that you're proud of in the moment mentally. So I think for me, competing it's exciting, but there's also a ton of nerves. Personally, I get really, really nervous at competition. I think no matter how I've competed at this point, this is decently high level for over 10 years at this point. Me and Eliana were, I was 10 when we went to our first nationals, and then I was 12, 13 years old when we went on our first international assignment. So from a very young age, I was, exposed to kind of those big international events. But for me personally, I am not any less nervous now than I was back then. And arguably now the stakes are higher. And so for me, it's been a lot of managing how I'm going to move forwards and how I'm going to approach competitions in a new way because I would love to be an athlete that enjoys the competition experience. For me, right now, I love the competitive aspect of the sport. I love getting the results that you work so hard towards, but actually the act of competing has been a real struggle for me mentally. And I think I would love to get to a point where I enjoy that process. I enjoy the actual act of competing because I think that's where the next stage of development in your program probably comes from. And I've started to experience that a little bit. I'm working with a sports psychologist, which I think if you're a high level athlete, I recommend everybody to do. They understand the mental side of a sport more than almost anyone. Using those techniques, I've tried to bring down my nerves a little bit in the preparation going up into an event. Personally, I experience the most nerves about the morning of the event. And then once I get to the rink and I'm getting in that warm up process, it kind of eases a little bit. And then it comes back when you're getting the skates on and then as they're calling your name. And then, so that's really the part where I'm working on getting not less nervous, but managing those nerves a bit. I've been utilizing a lot of different breathing techniques, whether that's, holding the breath and then exhaling it or visualizing things while you're controlling your breathing and even kind of, you know, aspects to kind of get your mind to really focus while you're breathing. So I think if you're an athlete and you experience something similar, I'd highly recommend utilizing those techniques and finding out what works for you because what works for one person is definitely not going to work for another person. It's really important to visualize your routine, visualize your event, and visualize the outcome that you want because that sort of mental connection can really make a huge difference in my opinion and experience. But I also think it's important finding a balance because I think too much visualization can lead to you getting caught up on things that you wouldn't otherwise get caught up on. I know in my personal experience, I've found myself sometimes visualizing the program too much to the point where I start creating falls in my head throughout the routine where, we're doing a transition and maybe there's something that went wrong 3 months ago in practice. and suddenly I'm all worked up, I'm all worried about that the night before the event because I'm visualizing, all of these mistakes. And so what's worked for me is I allow myself 1 to 2 visualizations of the program. Um, and then after that, I don't visualize it anymore because I cut myself off. I create more importance around those individual visualization events, and then I put it to the side because otherwise you start visualizing the program while you're sleeping the night before, and I've had times where my heart starts racing while I'm sleeping because I'm so enthralled in the visualization that I have caused my heart rate to rise so much. It's important to kind of limit myself in the visualization process and um, allow myself to get a normal night's sleep like I would any other day. So I was debating bringing this up or not, but I think if another athlete or someone else out there experiences something similar, it could be helpful. Something that I haven't really ever talked about is I have mild Tourette syndrome. And so it really only comes out a lot during events where I'm super nervous and times where my heart rate is kind of going a lot. And so unfortunately for me, that happens a lot at competitions, and it really manifests itself in the form of excessive blinking and just like tension and like some tics and things that are probably noticeable on camera. Now, luckily for me, once the program and the music starts, that kind of all subsides. But a big struggle for me has been the the part before that where you're waiting on the ice, they call your name, you go to present to the judges, you skate out there right before you hit your opening pose. Can be quite awkward for me and quite anxiety inducing. A huge part of ice dancing is looking super confident on the ice and looking like you're worth $1 million. There's no one better out there. And that kind of creates that initial impression for the judges. And so it's something that I strive to do, I want to do, but it's hard for me, especially when I'm internally battling, kind of trying to not let myself do something that is involuntary. Um, and that's something that I've found, various mental training and breathing and um, hand gesture exercises have kind of helped with. But it can definitely be hard because the audience, the judges, yourself want you know 100% confidence, and it can be frustrating when you want to present something and then you know you're partially not able to do that. But I've kind of come to accept that as part of me and embrace it, and instead of try to run away from that, kind of just not let it affect me as much. And another thing is focusing on the present. For me, in a routine, it's, one of my coaches says, A to the B, which is one element to the next. Don't think about the overall performance because if you are thinking about the overall thing, it's going to get more nerve wracking than just thinking about, oh, okay, I got one more thing to do. Okay, now I got this next thing. And now I'm doing this next, and then, oh, it's over. At the end of the day, it's a judge sport, not just by, a panel of judges and tech people, but also by the public opinion. I think it's really easy to, in sports like that, place your validation in yourself in what other people are thinking and saying about your performance. And so I think just as an individual, you have to be able to work on separating the two. And that's something that, this year I'm working really, really hard on because when you place so much time and effort into something and maybe one of the days just doesn't go your way, there can be a million great positive things said about it. And then there's that one comment, and it can really affect you if you let it. And so I think every athlete, every person really, um, can benefit from separating their joy for something and the outcome from all the other external stuff. because at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't matter. So going into the rest of the season, we have 2-3 weeks before we leave for the Junior Grand Prix in China. Super excited about that. I think it's going to be a great event. We're working super hard to elevate our skating from this past event. And I just want to say, like, this past event was a really interesting and great experience. We'll probably have some content or vlogs coming out about it. But yeah, it was great. We medaled, we got third, and we got a pretty decent score, especially for our first Junior Grand Prix of the year. And so going into China, we have the opportunity to do really well, and so we'll see what happens. We're gonna try our very best, but yeah. So stay tuned for more content about that, and thanks for watching. If you have any questions or want me to dive deeper into any of these topics, be sure to leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Peel out.